Hello, welcome to Gen Z Meets World podcast.
I am Aisha.
I'm Ahmed, and today we'll be talking about fears and phobia.
Scary stuff.
Well, we probably won't be scary.
Yeah,
but
it's not
we're
like
talking about things that we're scared of.
Yeah.
And-
We're scared of.
We're scared of, and
Yeah.
the whole thing in
The
general.
whole concept.
Yeah, concept.
Oh wait, my phone locked. Okay, so the definition. If we were to look at this one is the National Health Service. I think this UK site. Not UK. Yeah, National Health Service defines phobias as like an overwhelming and debilitating fear of an object, place, situation, feeling, or animal. And specifically, phobias are more pronounced than fears. They develop when a person has an exaggerated or unrealistic sense of danger about a situation or object. And then specifically, when you face a fear, this one is from Mayo Clinic, when you face a fear, a specific phobia involves an intense, persistent fear of a specific object or situation that's out of proportion to the actual risk.
Right.
You know, like when you say that in unrealistic fear, it doesn't necessarily mean like unrealistic. Like because
Does
how
that
do you
have to be-
define
yeah.
unrealistic? You know.
Yeah.
So specifically, it is out of proportion to the actual risk. But you feel like it's like for some people they know it is not. It is out of proportion. For other people, they don't feel like they feel like it is in proportion. Yeah.
So, going back, a lot of my fears and phobias actually started when I was small. I mean, you have them across your life, so there will be the ones that you start with, and I think the most prominent one that everybody knows of.
Everybody in the family, you mean?
Everybody in the family, and quite some lot of people outside the family as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure some people from outside the family knows actually. Is my fears of lizards. I think it starts. I'm not sure where it starts because I grew up with that being in my mind already. At my grandmother's house, there's even over here at our house here, but our grandmother's house especially, there were a lot of lizards.
So many lizards.
Just so many lizards.
Oh, grandfather's car. Have you ever been in the house? In the car?
I've never been in. I may have been in the car. I can't remember.
Right, you were
but
too
I remember
young.
looking at the car, and there were lizards inside, outside, on the floor.
It's filled. I used to call our grandfather's car a zoo.
Yeah,
There's so many insects in there. I
remember
know
you
why.
calling it that. So yeah, lizards. I'm not exactly sure why I'm afraid of lizards, but I think it goes to their jiggly shape. Because that kind of it feels like icky sort of.
Is it the jiggly shape makes you afraid of it, or the jiggly shape gives you an illusion of an icky texture that you do not like?
I think it's closer to that.
The second one.
Because I thinking back, I don't think that lizards do have an icky, or do they?
They have like a smoothish kind of. You're already you're cringing. They're not like sticky.
Yeah. I can imagine. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it's what I perceive from looking at them. Because the thing is, a lot of that aspect of its characteristics also occurs in I can see them being a pattern with a few other things that I'm afraid of, like snakes
or frogs.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Because I'm not afraid of snakes in the sense that it could bite me. I think it took me a long time before I know that snakes are dangerous.
Yeah, right.
First, I just did not like its, the way it's slithery. Not that it could strangle you, but then the fact that it could wrap around you is,
it's suffocating. Not
suffocating.
Oh, right.
Even if it's just wrapping, if you wrap a towel.
Yeah, it's not
softly.
choking, but it's suffocating. It's
No, it's just the feeling of it being.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's
okay.
sometimes I shudder.
Right.
Feeling that.
Yeah,
So frogs snakes, but specifically lizards, because I think that's most prominent because I see them a lot. I mean, I rarely see a snake. A frog is quite common, somewhat.
But then
lizards are like
everywhere.
I basically see them every day, especially when at our grandmother's house. So yeah, that's like the earliest fear that I could remember, or phobia that I could remember.
Is it like generally the thing that you're like irrationally uncomfortable with, or irrationally fearing? Is it the texture of it, so you don't like this kind of like feeling? Is it?
I'm not sure about that as well, because the thing is, there's certain things that the texture is somewhat, it's like those things that you those jellyish thing that you pull and I imagine that lizards have that kind of texture,
right?
That's why I used to call that toy we had chicha, which is lizard in Malay, because but then when I have that and when I play with it, I'm fine with that. Right. So I'm not sure
really
as well what is it that causes
but
that.
It's not like danger.
It's not like danger. So but
it makes you anxious, definitely.
It makes me anxious, definitely. Super anxious.
Right.
Nowadays, snakes can make me anxious because of the danger aspect, less on the heebie-jeebies aspect, but more to the more to the danger aspect.
Yeah.
But lizards, they still, especially whenever they just pop up right in front of me, and
which they often do.
Yeah, they like to do that.
My childhood fear, a fear that I had when I was younger, or a phobia, was I remember that I was afraid of cats irrationally. But then it
happens
was
a lot at a lot of restaurants.
Yeah, it was a lot of like, because I mean, cats seem so excitable and they have like sharp claws, and so I always feel like I couldn't predict what the cat would do, and the cat might maim you. Like, it's true that when you grow older, you don't think that a cat can harm you that much, but when you're younger, for me, you couldn't tell how much can a cat harm you or not harm you. And because it often seems like there's like such mood swing with cats, everyone can agree with that. One time they're happy, then they're angry, and then they're playing, then they're sleeping. They're sleeping and they're awake and they're hungry. So it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that it can harm me in a certain way. And so, especially when they get excited, I'm like, okay, I'm out. But they're even then, I've always felt like they're cute and they're nice, but it's so unpredictable. But then, so that was one. But then I got over that quite quickly because, cats are everywhere. And I have this thing where I want to get over all of my weaknesses. So, it's not like the fear was out of proportion. So maybe, yes, it is a phobia, which they call it like gatophobia, was it?
I have no idea. It's very possible though, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so I was irrationally afraid of it, so it was probably a phobia. But then it's like pretty soon that I could get over it because I realized what was it that made me afraid of it. So but then I was also very much afraid of heights. I wasn't afraid of height as in I am afraid of the fact that because when I get to a certain point of height, I feel like the chances of me to accidentally slip is so high, or sometimes I feel off balance in general, and when I feel off balance, I fear that I might fall. So I don't want to be at a point of height that would be too high that I might fall myself.
Yeah.
That was like my fear of heights. Like, when I am afraid, once the fear kicks in, I become quite irrational. But I don't feel like it was so much of a fear that it's a phobia.
Yeah, because it is a generic fear. Yeah. This is something that you should be afraid of.
Yeah, it was just that I'm worried, And so when I get at that point, I may be irrationally acting out,
but your fear is not irrational, because
I'm
it is a true danger compared to like lizards,
and I get quite high once I start getting afraid of it,
or arachnophobia, where you're just afraid of spiders, even though
cough.
It depends actually. I mean, I'm fine with like those normal house spiders now, but I still can't with those large.
Sometimes Ahmad is just looking at, like, you know, when you play certain games and they have, like, you know, gigantic spiders, giant size spiders.
Oh, don't remind me of that one.
I didn't know that he was afraid of spiders. And then we played this one game where you are in a cave and there's like lots of spiders in the area, and then there's like webs which makes you, you know, you're like stuck with
and
the
there's
webs.
like spider eggs and like cracked spider eggs.
So we're like, you know, we're just like, we rush in. The spiders attack you, you know, so we rush in and then we rush out, and then Ahmed was stuck in the spider web and he was screaming, "Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me." We're like, we're just here, you know, like, it's okay, the spider web will get, like, you won't die yet, it's okay, we're watching from afar, we can, like, you know, attack the spiders. So but he's like screaming and then I didn't know anything, you know, until months later. Then we were talking and then he's like, oh yeah, those spiders, like, you know, creep him out. I'm like, no wonder you were so afraid of that situation. I didn't know.
The worst part was like running away from the spiders and then suddenly reaching to the end of the lair, the cave, and there's like this, it's just a stagnant picture at the end. You can't pass the barrier. There's like an invisible barrier, but that's like a picture of the gigantic spider. Like queen spider, perhaps, probably. And I was just so
it's so 2D and flat.
Yeah, it's so 2D and
not
flat.
Not realistic.
Yeah. But when everything else is 3D, and you're like being chased by spiders, that's 3D enough.
So so it's not like my fear of height is like not that irrational. So I feel like, you know.
Wait, hold on. You know, it's 2D. There's like height and, like, you know, that length. And the third dimension is fear. All right, you can continue.
Okay, so the fear of height is in, you know, like, I don't think it's a phobia. It's a fear, not a phobia. But then after that, other than that, I was also afraid of. I think I was somewhat afraid of the dark. But then I couldn't go to sleep without the dark, so it's quite of a dilemma.
Yeah,
like I couldn't go to sleep if it's not dark, but then when it's dark, I'm not afraid, but I get anxious. I get hyper aware, you know. Like when it's dark, I feel comfortable. I feel comforted. Like I feel at peace, so that I can go to sleep. But at the same time, I also become hyper aware. So it's like a dilemma, and then thus, you know, I couldn't go sleep.
I remember that when I was very small, I could not sleep when it's like I could not sleep when it's bright, but at the same time I needed like total darkness if I want to sleep. So what I do is that I would cover my face with this small pillow before the light turns off, so that I do not know that the light is off. I know that the light is off because I hear the switch turning off, and I know that. So, but then because I don't see it.
Seeing is believing.
Yeah. So if for whatever reason I had to lift the pillow, and I put it back, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So.
But then the thing is that is interesting for me is that I didn't know that I was afraid of most of the things I was afraid of until so much later. Like when I was younger, I knew I was afraid of cats because everyone's like, Aisha, it's just a cat, it's just a kitten, you know. So like I know, okay, that's why, like, you know, I got over it pretty quickly because I realized, oh, it's, you know, irrational. But and then heights, people often say people didn't say like it's just a bit because it's like, you know, and they like, I don't know, maybe it was like more rational than the others, and they're like, it's like understandable, and so they do make space for me when it comes to height. But then there are things like, for example, clowns. I didn't know I was afraid of clowns until that was
2013 or 2012.
Yeah, so I was like 15 or 16 when I found out that I am afraid of clowns. Like, I had zero clue, like not an inkling. Heights, I could like kind of like tell that I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because like the moment when I found out, oh, I am really afraid of heights, was when we were crossing this I don't know what's it called.
What, Gigantes?
Yeah, in Malay it's called Gigantes. Okay,
it's the pathway on top that it goes over a road.
A busy road.
A busy road. Yeah.
It's like a bridge, but it's for human.
Yeah.
Human bridges. Human bridges over roads. Yeah. So when we were going over that one of those, and then I started clinging to the rails, then I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of heights. But then it's not like.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Good morning, and every time when we begin our episode, I keep on wanting to say Ramadan Mubarak. Even though
I'm still like, hello, welcome to Gen Z Meets for podcast.
Okay, so I'm so sorry this is happening again, but hold a second. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay, we are good. We are live. All right. Bismillah. Okay. So, good morning and hello and assalamualaikum. And it is the 15th.
Yeah, 15th
of Ramadan. Remember just last week when we mentioned like, hey, you know what? This Ramadan, it's taking like a long while. It's like a nice pace, and it's like it's so long. It feels like it's been like so long that we've been fasting, but when it was just 1 week. Yeah. Now it's like from
then to now, it kind of feels like just 3 days or 2 days.
No, it felt like negative. It felt like it was like 7 days. Now it's like it was just 5 days that we've been fasting.
Yeah.
So assalamualaikum, and how are you guys doing? How is your fast so far? It's already 15th, which means like half of the month. Mm-hmm. So how are you doing?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ayman Amani. Hello. This is our sister. Who we mentioned previous episode.
Yeah. Now she's watching today. That's cool.
Yes, a very supportive sister. So hello. How are you guys doing? It's half of the month, the 15th of Ramadan.
Last night we saw the moon. That was huge.
It was like and a full moon.
Yeah, full moon.
The moon. Yes, but unfortunately it was like cloudy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
At first it wasn't cloudy though.
It was cloudy.
The moon was not clouded. The moon was not clouded.
It was, because that's why it has like very fadey.
Oh, that's why the camera was like a bit blurred.
Like and if you notice the moon, like it's not like, oh, you need God. No, you will wear it. Yeah, because if you notice, it wasn't like sharp.
I can imagine, like, because it was when it's huge. Sometimes it like kind of just.
But yes, the moon is full because it's like half of the month. Hello, Anisa Fifa. That's great that Ramadan is doing great for you. It was big. And it's okay. I am an Amani. Ramadan has been going by so fast, and like now that we've reached half of the month, I remember like yesterday we went to the surau, and then there was that tazkirah, and the ustad was talking about how it's like a good time to like reflect on how Ramadan has been going on. And I've been thinking like because like when you begin Ramadan, when you start out, like you're very excited for this like journey, and it's like going well and strong, etc. And then the next like, as you have another week, it's like you're still like kind of like there, but then in some ways for some people like the excitement dwindles, or it's getting harder because we've been going through so long, it's like fasting and everything. It's getting harder, it's getting perhaps more exhausting, it's like the amount of sleep, like you're not sleeping enough, and etc. So it's like harder for you to go through the month. And with Ramadan being like, as like the name, like people usually calls it, like the month of patience, the month of sabr, it really comes to show how much it tests your patience. Like first and foremost, obviously, with like fasting, you have to hold yourself back from hunger and thirst, which is a form of patience, and
like more things except just hunger and thirst.
Like your emotions, like
your
anger, your nafs. So it requires a lot of patience, to go through Ramadan. requires a lot of sabr. So I've been thinking about like the meaning behind sabr, because like on one hand we have like when we go through Ramadan, we really like, we don't just like learn the meaning, but we really learn it. We really understand it.
Yeah, because we go into it.
Yes,
like,
you're actually practicing
it
to such a degree.
Yeah.
And like in the end, your fast and your dedication, like your patience, even in patience in your ibadah,
Yeah.
in performing the Tarawih prayers, which takes a form of patience, in really diligently reading the Quran,
waking up in the morning for sahur.
Yeah, all of that, like really requires patience. So so I've been really going into like the meaning of sabr, and what I really like, which I learned the other day, in a page. I'm sorry, like I have to hold my mic. In a page.
I'm thinking sorry. If I should help your mic, but then it would be weird.
Okay. In the Quran, this is from the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 45. It says, "Seek God's help, or Allah's help, with patient perseverance and prayer. It is indeed hard, except to those who bring a lowly spirit, who bear in mind the certainty that they are to meet Allah and that they are to return to Him." And in this verse, we have the word sabr, wasta'inu bis-sabr, which is translated to patient perseverance, and it's added as a note down here, that down there, in the footnote.
Yeah.
The Arabic word sabr, translated here as patient perseverance, implies many shades of meaning, which it is impossible to comprehend in one English word.
Yeah.
It implies patience in the sense of being thorough, not hasty. Hasty? How do you pronounce that?
I think hasty.
Hasty. And patient perseverance, constancy, steadfastness, firmness of purpose. And yet still also systematic, as opposed to spasmodic or chance action, like...
I mean, you basically need a new word on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to combine it into one word.
And also another one, a cheerful attitude of resignation and understanding by the element of constancy or steadfastness.
Because that's the thing. In the case of sabr, it's not simply you're following and like by force. There's that element of your willingness.
It's not just like an obligation.
Yes. It's not just willingness, but you're glad. You're grateful. You're cheerful. That's what it says. So
it says a cheerful attitude of resignation.
Yeah. So it's far more than
deeper.
Just simply patience.
And it is like, in some ways it's more accurate to say perseverance, but it's also not just perseverance, but it is in some ways more accurate, because like patience may sometimes come with, I think anyway, so
patience can come with unwillingness,
Yeah, that's true. I feel like, but I don't really know, is it,
because you can't just be we're going to, but
it's okay.
it can be like, you will not be patient if you're not willing to go through it. But then I feel like it at the same time, the definition of patience, you have to look at the definition of patience.
It's patience.
It's not exactly, for me at least, when someone says that you have to be patient,
they may have a
bit
like, of unacceptance.
Yes.
In it.
Like you're patient, but you're not fully accepting the situation, or the capacity to accept or tolerate.
Yeah.
So you can just
tolerate.
So you're just tolerating it, but you're not fully accepting or fully glad to go through the situation.
And I think persevere also comes with strength.
Yeah.
So to like persevere something isn't just to be patient in it, but also to like be strong in it. Sort of like I feel like, what's the definition of perseverance? Let's see that, and then you can like really see the difference in that definition. But yeah, I do like the translation. Okay, let's see. Perseverance,
persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay. So you're just persisting and doing something with despite all the difficulty and delay, but it doesn't mean that you're accepting it entirely.
Yeah, so it's not just
you're just
persevering
either.
Yeah. So that's like the complete, like that's the beautiful meaning behind sabr. It's not just like patience, it's not just perseverance. In this case, they translate as patient perseverance, but it's not just patient perseverance either. So it's like, that's why it says here that they don't think that it is impossible to comprehend in one English word. So yeah. So I do like that beauty and the meaning of like patience and sabr. So in talking about like how do we be patient, how do we be more patient, how do we like achieve sabr and etc. I think that is like, because in facing a lot of like trials and tribulations in life and etc. There is, because like sometimes it's very hard for you to go through them, like to be patient to go through them. I think in building patience, you do need to find there's this missing elements that we're not finding when we're building patience. Things like, for example, which I think is more complete if you actually go into the meaning of like sabr, So there is that sense of when you're, it's often that we've come across people who and I'm not sure, maybe we have even, throughout our lives, are sometimes like angry or upset with the things that's happened in our lives and unaccepting of them, etc. And some people, in fact, to the extent of like sometimes the difficulty is so hard for them, to the extent that sometimes they question, why do they go through these and And I think that's the thing that comes with like those missing elements in like patience, which comes in sabr. That trust in Allah, that willingness to go through it,
Because when you trust in Allah, you will have the hope to go through.
Yeah, because it's not just trusting that Allah will help. It's also trusting, knowing that
even though the situation seems negative, it might be something important for you, or like there's a hikmah behind it. Basically every cloud has a silver lining. So, but even hikmah, it's not exactly like just simply silver lining. It's more like wisdom. That will be a different topic, I guess. But
and so okay, you can finish.
All of that, that trust, you need to have full on trust that it's good, it's the best for you. All that's happening to you will be the best for you.
Even if you may not see it yet.
Even if you may see it.
And on top of that, there is also the understanding of how what happens to you, everything that happens to you, like Allah knows best. And He knows like our capacities, our capabilities.
Because sometimes our expectations, our imagination, our idea of things may not be the best for us. One, because it will not be good for us. But another is because we won't be able to face it. Some things we can face it, but then because
exactly.
of our weaknesses, when we face it, we won't be turning out good in the end.
And like A, and then also B, like even though it is very difficult and it may feel like it's impossible for you to go through it, which I've been through moments when it really feels very, very difficult. The only thing that got me through them is that trust that Allah knows we are capable of, that everything that happens, like Allah knows how much we can go through. And thus, like if we have that trust and that faith, even when it seems very, very, very difficult and you really want to give up, and perhaps you have given up in some certain ways or form, you still know that in the end, that level of difficulty should be appropriate for you. Like you should be able to face that, because like Allah, like would not
give something that's impossible for you to face. Even as hard as it is, even if as hard as it seems, it won't be possible in the end.
Exactly. So I remember some of those moments when it's like very, very, very difficult, One of those moments being times when like I feel like I'm just giving always, like when I'm trying to talk about like a difficult moment, I'm always just giving one example throughout our podcast, but that's like the most recent very bad moment that I remember, and personally for me I feel like it was the hardest. It's like somewhere in between, like after our father passed away and things were happening. Like it's not just when our father passed away, but then like all the consequences following from that, and also things that consequently happened after that, you know. So all of these like built up into like on top of each other, and like it became such a mountain, a hurdle to get through, and it was just so difficult. And there are so many moments when it feels very, very, very overwhelming, that it really, you know, like, yeah. So those moments, the thing that I have to always try, like I remember sometimes when I don't remember them, you know, when I forget, like that trust, that faith. But it is these things that, like when I'm reminded of these things, like reminded of like the faith, reminded of sabr, that is when like it actually builds up like a certain strength in you. That's it, you know. In building sabr, it is not just for you, like it is not just that an action that you play, you know, like an action that you are patient in something and etc., or you persevere something, but it also, like when you achieve sabr, when you have like that trust, it gives you strength to face it, you know.
So because sometimes the reason why you can't go through some things is because you just do not have the right mindset, and also
worldview, perspective.
No, like the spirit, the you don't have the hope, so you're kind of like just giving up, which means that you won't have the, not to say energy, but like, you know, that spirit to go through
and the strength.
Whole thing. The strength. Well, the spirit brings the strength, so without the spirit comes no strength.
I had a point. I keep on doing this. I keep on forgetting my points. I don't know if it's lack of sleep or something. You can.
I don't have.
Okay. You took a breath in, so I was like, oh, okay, you want to say something? Sure. Okay. So yeah. So but then I do understand that sometimes when you are going through those difficulties, like now when you're not facing them, sometimes it's easy for you to remind yourself of, you know, faith and trust and etc. But then when you are facing it, it is harder
to think about it, or to
be reminded of it.
To be reminded of it.
Yeah. Or for some people to keep that faith, but some people they just sometimes it just, you know, it like kind of
really
slips.
cross our minds.
Yeah, and because you feel like you're not just sad, like or frustrated,
you
or
feel
upset,
defeated
or exhausted. Yeah, defeated. You're also scared at the same time, you know, like you do not know, like if it's a survival issue, you do not know how you're going to make it for tomorrow. If it's a survival for others issue, you don't know how others are going to survive tomorrow. Or, you know, like there's just such a big fear, and it, you know, it's terrifying sometimes, which in that manner also, actually, if I think in these kind of times, you know, moments, that's when it's handy for you to like sort of like have ways to remind yourself when you are really down, you know, like a sort of like a comfort zone, and also like something to fall back on. Do you get what I'm saying? Like put yourself, when you're really going through a bad state of mind, put yourself in an environment where it is comfortable for you, when it makes you feel better, and it makes you gives you strength, you know, at the very least calms you down, even if it doesn't, you know, like makes you happy immediately, etc. And then alongside that, like perhaps like, I don't know, have like a journal or like a book where you have like certain lines or quotes or events, things to remind you
that whenever you face those things,
that life just like, you know, there's the ups and the downs, and even though there's a down and it feels like such a big down, there's also going to be an up.
I always see like a bullet point list, like you have which ends with the end of your life. So you have every time you have there will always be like a point which is like a challenge, and then you will go through, and in each of them there will be like.
Is this an analogy?
Analogy.
Oh, okay.
There's more challenges and challenges, and then it will start to go out, and you will over time you will get over the challenge and make it through. But then after that, you must remember that there will always be a challenge till the end of your life.
I get it.
So the thing always goes deeper and deeper. So you always feel like it will never end sometimes, but it will eventually reach the end of that.
I mean, I guess it is to remember that the promise for those who have faith and keep faith and trust Allah is the hereafter Jannah, because like, yes, life just comes with tribulations,
Yeah.
Life is not going to be like a forever peaceful moment. You just have, after our father passed away, like that year, was it that? No, 2019. Our father passed away 2018. So we were going through all of these many, difficulties and etc. And then the Ramadan of 2019, I felt like it was like one of the nicest months for me, and for you.
Yeah.
We were going
like
through it together a lot. Yeah. So like, it sometimes for me it makes me so happy. It makes me feel like it reminds that it's like one of the things that would remind me how, like, if you stay patient and you keep your patience, and you accept your fate and etc., there would be a reward for you. Like, even if not here now, it will be in the hereafter. But then now we see that, like, there is a reward now. Like, to achieve such a beautiful Ramadan, to feel so complete and peaceful and happy, that's such a feeling and emotion that it's not something that you can just achieve any day, any month, any year, any Ramadan. So that was such a beautiful feeling, and I was so thankful that I got to experience it, because I may never experience it in my whole life. I experienced that, and that feels like a reward, So yeah, so that's the thing. Perhaps a strategy to remind you of all of these positivity, is to have like a documentation, like a gratitude journal, sort of like practicing gratitude. I guess that comes to show, like, that as a follow-up, comes to show how sabr and shukr comes together. Like acceptance, like gratefulness, gratefulness, thankfulness, like that is like shukr. Which is like, when we were younger, often people would say, sabr itu separuh daripada iman. And like, that's like one half, the one part of iman, of faith. The other part of iman is shukr, like sabr and shukr is what builds faith, builds iman. So that shows how, I guess, shows how like sabr is built, like, as you build sabr, as you like are grateful in your life, and you're grateful of the things that has happened, and you remind yourself how all these things happen. That's like shukr, okay. And then there's sabr, where you have like faith and trust, and and these two, when they come hand in hand, like when you are patient, as you trying to build your patience, you remind yourself of all you're thankful. You remind yourself of all of the positive things that has happened in your life, the rewards you've achieved, where you are now, the blessings that you've been blessed with,
despite going through all the things, the troubles,
the difficulties before. So all of these great gratitude helps strengthen your sabr, your patience.
And a lot of times, for me at least, it in the first place, it makes me aware of the good things that are happening right now. Like, for example, let's say right now I'm facing like a terrible time, and then I remember that I am actually facing a good. I'm having a good time.
Often I'm just like, when I'm like too like demolished inside, sometimes I'm like, at least I have a roof, I have a family, I have a pillow,
And like more than just simply that.
I mean, this is a very like superficial example, but then just like, a few months ago, we have been living for like over a year without washing machine. And I'm like, oh my God, I just want a washing machine, because it's so hard to clean clothes like by hand. And I'm like, you know what? At least you have light.
At least you have the clothes to wear.
Yeah.
At least you have the water to wash it with your hands.
Yeah.
At least you have hands.
yeah, you know. But it's like, oh, I just want a washing machine, you know. So yeah.
It was nearly 2 years, wasn't it?
Our washing machine broke down December 2019.
So yeah, more than 2 years.
Wow. Wow. No wonder.
Yeah. Because it was like just before COVID. Because like right after COVID, we need to wash a lot of clothes is because when we go out, the washing machine's not there.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, so back to the point. So when, you know, being reminded of all the gratitude and etc., it helps strengthen your sabr, builds your patience. And then also, as you have like that patience, as your sabr, as you persevere, that like actually blossoms into shukr, you know? Like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Because you're patient, you're able to think through without, you know, being that overly affected by your emotions and your the grudge that
demolished state. Yeah.
Then you're able to be grateful
for the things that
are happening.
Has been happening. And like, the harder your life is, the more appreciative you would be of the positive things that has happened in your life, you know? Like, the more misery you felt, the more joy you'll understand, you know? Because you couldn't understand happiness without understanding grief, and you couldn't understand how full you can feel if you have never felt how hungry.
Here's the thing, no matter how hard the things you're facing, you will certainly have a really big positive thing that's going on with you. Like, the simplest, the most basic thing would be life. You know, that on its own is a risky, which is, you know, very big. And additionally, iman in the first place. Like the fact that you're still having iman that's like the biggest thing.
The biggest blessing that
biggest blessing that you can ever ask for. So you know, be grateful that at least you have those. Which not
for some people though, when they're facing a very, very hard time, they do actually want to have life. Like, they don't see life as a blessing.
That's the thing. So
I can't find an answer for that. When I am facing a very hard time, when I was younger, you know, when I didn't understand these concepts as well, I knew that I know that it is wrong for you to think of or ask for your life to end or be upset with the fact that you are alive. But I don't really know why, you know, when I was younger. And so I just put my trust, the thing is that, do you trust that Allah knows best? Do you actually hold to the shahada of, like, you know, like, believe in God and etc. And if you do, then automatically you would trust and you would have faith, or you should, because otherwise you couldn't, you know. And then in those moments, sometimes you just have that trust, and then, you know, you just try to hold yourself back, try to be patient, try to remind yourself of the positive things. I guess, like, having that gratitude journal can help, you know. Like, you can have things like, you can write down memories, or you can write down quotes and lines, or you can, like, put pictures of, like, certain events. And then, hold a second, there's a comment that I want to read, but then let me finish this one. And then there's one ayah that I really like, which to, like, remind, I'm sorry, that's the wrong page. Hold a second. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. In the Surah Taha, verse 46, Allah said, He said, "Fear not, for I am with you. I hear and see everything." That's one line that, you know, can really help during the hardest of time. Yeah, okay. So Ayman Amani said, previously she said, and I didn't read because I was talking. I agree that gratitude builds resilience, and resilience breeds gratitude. If we have read that earlier, we could have phrased that long analogy. Never mind. So the other one, I mean, yes, that's exactly what we're trying to say in a super convoluted way. I disagree.
Well articulated.
Yeah, I agree. I disagree. If the more you feel the negative, the more you appreciate the positive. It's true, generally speaking, but I think within an individual, it does increases your capacity to appreciate it. I'm trying to understand. I disagree.
The more you feel negative, the more you appreciate the positive.
Yeah. It's true, generally speaking, okay?
Oh, yeah, I disagree if that thing is true, generally speaking. But I think within an individual, so generally speaking, it is not true. But then within an individual, it does increase your capacity to appreciate it.
I get. Yeah. Yes. That's also true. That's also true because for some people, the more I think, if I'm actually getting what she's saying, what you're saying, you don't see a person in a conversation. What you're saying, then yes. For some people, the more they feel negativity, the more negativity that they face through, it doesn't necessarily build an appreciation for the positive side of life, yeah. Sometimes it can demolish them worse, so yeah. But then I guess that comes with that. You know what? We've been going through our podcast without our beautiful lighting. Yeah, that's how.
There we go.
We forgot. Anyway, so that I guess goes back to the understand yes, it doesn't automatically necessarily be for everyone, but then I guess that is when you can remind yourself about how the concept of how Allah will only test you to the extent that you can be tested, you know. And so you should try to not let that thing demolish you.
Yeah.
But I guess I can't remember which Gen Z Musical episode that we mentioned this, but then we talked about how when you're scarred and sometimes that scar will forever remain scarred and open.
Might have been one of the end of year.
I think it was overcoming
loss. Yeah.
You might just forever carry that burden, that weight of loss, forever maybe. But then it isn't about trying to heal and close it and deplete it from your memory.
Entirely. Sometimes it's good for you to have those as a reminder.
It's about living with it.
Overcoming.
Yeah, and having it, learning from it and having it built onto your repertoire of...
Make it positive for you.
Yeah.
If once it helps you, then it's positive for you and it no longer becomes a burden.
Yeah. Yes, because different individuals have different perspective, thoughts, and ways of approaching things. Yeah, and that's why also different people face through different things.
Yeah.
However, by being deprived of something, you now can compare what you have or had and how it felt when. Yeah.
It's like when you're having a stuffy nose and you're thinking,
huh?
When you have a clear nose like that right now. I do not remember to feel grateful that I have a clear nose.
Okay, yeah.
Unlike last week when I'm constantly
when you're having a stuffy nose, then you're oh
my goodness, why am I having this? Why don't I think the other way around when I'm currently having well and healthy? Oh, I am so glad that I'm healthy.
There's a character limit to life chat. That's so unfortunate.
There's 200, 2000, something like that. 200, yeah.
That's so unfortunate. I type essays.
Yeah, every time during the academy YouTuber classes that I follow, I will, sometimes they have long answer questions, and I'm
one comment.
Copying
Enter.
by 200 characters, and when I need to answer, I'm paste, contribute, enter, and I have to put in brackets what part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and then end. And so that will be many comments to go through.
So yeah. Yeah, I like that concept of sabr and shukr, working hand in hand and building together and etc. There is an ayah that I like. Oh, hold a second. We also wrote here that we want to talk about building shukr, practice gratitude, observe, listen to those in need. Yeah. Because like to build patience, because like, you know, we're talking about like building patience, building sabr. It helps if you also like have like like a deep appreciation for life and etc. Like, you know, have like shukr for everything. And to help with that, it's also cool to like a part of like in fasting, when you're feeling hungry and etc., it reminds you of those who are actually not, who are like hungry not by choice.
Yeah.
You know, like who are like, you know, the homeless,
deprived of
or like
food.
Yeah, deprived of food, you know, like, yeah, you know. So for those people, like it for now, you feeling that hunger remind you of how hot. Remember when we mentioned like previous episode, we talked about like COVID, how when COVID
What's the
happened.
previous episode again? I lost track.
We talked about closing the gap.
Closing the.
We talked about how
Ramadan Reflections.
Yeah, Ramadan Reflections. No,
Sorry,
not Gen Z Miso.
Yeah,
No.
my mindset is.
So
Yeah.
when we're like when COVID happened, a lot of people are reminded of how hard, because like when COVID happened, so many people who
generally
had
have like easy access to food, like
and
with a snap of a finger, basically.
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's such
yeah.
it's so taken for granted that it's just like that.
and
you
suddenly for them it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
Either they're facing financial difficulties, or it's just hard
They
for them to
can't go-
commute,
yeah,
you know.
so, you know.
But that reminds them of like, it's hard for me. How is it for other people who do not have, you know, like who are doing worse than they are? And similarly, in like, you know, when you're fasting, it reminds you of like all of these other people who do not have,
Like for the people who have the money to buy the food, they're like how it's the only thing, the problem is for them is like to commute.
Yeah.
But then they're thinking about what if they do not have the money?
Yeah.
And the people who do not have the money will be thinking, what if the people do not have access to the food to begin with?
B, like the people who have the money, like some of the people who do not have the money, some of them only do not have the money because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like they lost their jobs
Yeah.
now. So how is it for people who's never had job in the first place,
place.
or had such a low paying job, you
Yeah.
know? So
And so for those people now, they're thinking about how the people who do not have access, like the place that they're living in, does not have food to begin with. They're being deprived of food like entirely. So it brings it down the whole chain of making you feel A, grateful for what you have, and B, remember about the others who.
But again, like, you know, it comes with that, like Mani mentioned, like you know, like how like different people have different perspective, thoughts, and way of approaching things. And so like, did we read that? However, by being deprived of something, you can now okay. So when you have different perspective and etc. So like some people, however, as they're going through all these difficulties and like fasting and hunger etc., they are not reminded of them. So to remind yourself that when you're going through a difficulty, try to observe other people who are going through difficulties. I remember when we were going through a hard time, the hard time, you know, 2019-18 era, etc. I remember like during the same time, like a friend of us called talking about how, I can't remember exactly what the story was about, but then something about like her daughter was like sick terribly, and it's a long story how they don't have access to money, etc, etc. And I was like, to observe that difficulty, I don't like the concept of like comparing difficulty levels. Like, this is harder and this is easier. But however, what I do like to see is like different challenges, but when you see a different challenge, you see how that is like super difficult, and like how you are not facing that, you know? Like that's so sad and terrifying. You're not facing it. Alhamdulillah, you know? So observing, to remind yourself to observe, like when you're going through a difficult time, sometimes it's also cool to like observe how other people also having a hard time. At least you have some of the positive things. However, for me, sometimes when I'm in that state of mind, I'm like, when I observe other people in pain, I'm like, world is just ending. So then it's when you remind yourself that in the end, like one ayah that I like to bring up that I find good to be reminded of, you know, in Surah Al-Baqarah, section 19, which is hard trials necessary to establish truth. You can see in verse 155, Be sure we shall test you with something of fear and hunger, some loss in goods or life, or the fruits of your toil. But give glad tidings to those who patiently persevere. Sabr again, patiently persevere. Who say, when afflicted with calamity, to God we belong, and to Him is our return. They are those on whom descend blessings from God and mercy, and they are the ones who receive guidance. So, I think all of these, reflecting, I guess, okay, here's the thing, when in doing Ramadan reflection, I do it's not like a concept of kind of trying to teach a new concept in Ramadan, or a new idea, but rather my perspective at least, and I think your perspective too, rather to just reflect on everything that you do in Ramadan. So to not just fast because it's an obligation, to not just perform prayers because it's an obligation, to not just perform zakah because it's an obligation, to not just read the Quran because it's an obligation, but rather to do them, performing them, while appreciating them, voluntarily wanting to do them, and at the same time reflecting on them, reflecting on the everything that you go through as you go through them, and that in essence helps you build you into who you are. So talking about sabr and patience, to fast and be reflect on that fasting, and then having patience, and then as you read the Quran, to observe the meaning, and then have that understanding. And also though, in understanding the meaning, there is a danger of, for some people, if they literally translate texts, or even when they read the translation, they just take it as a literal meaning, that can be dangerous because you might get the wrong understanding. That's why
it's important to also get the understanding, the proper interpretation and
understanding. Because words don't just they
don't just translate directly, literally.
And sometimes it is not when in transferring an idea from one brain to another brain. Sometimes just saying these words, basically, because of the different perspectives, sometimes they don't translate the same. You say the sky is blue. When you just say that, a person you may think that the sky is purple, purple blue. Another person may think it's super bright blue. Another person may think that it's dark blue. Because you just say the sky is blue. So only until you bring that person to show the sky, the exact shade of blue of the sky is, then you can understand what blue is. What in this context blue is, because blue in different contexts mean differently. So thus. Where was I? Oh yeah. So also, in reading the Quran and understanding the Quran, literally, you may get the wrong meaning. That's why it's important for you to learn from those who are more knowledgeable, and
those who are ahli tafsir. They're the masters of tafsir, basically.
They because and that's why also I like the Quran's with translation that I like are the ones with a deeper footnotes and explanation. There's one that I really love, published by Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, I think it's in Malay. The one with the translation and the footnotes, etc., by Ustaz Uthman.
Yes,
I love that one. I have that. Hold a second, I can go and get it. Microphone to not make
so basically, hello VF channel archive. How's your Ramadan going? If you still here, I'm not sure when you sent that. Very sorry, we forgot to read the comments while we were talking. Well, I think I can speak with two microphones right now, but I think that might cause a bit of an echo. There we go.
This is our grandfather's copy. Hold a second, hold it with my right hand. This is our grandfather's copy. Our father had one, it comes in many jilits. I think 6.
Jilid is books,
Yeah. So our father had a series, but then it was his. And then our grandfather passed down his collection to our father, and our father was like, here, Aisha. And I'm like,
so cool. That's really cool. It's doing good. Yeah, it's really nice seeing people going through Ramadan well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ramadan is a beautiful month.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's
you need
sad.
to say that again because your microphone was away just now.
No, it wasn't. Ramadan is a beautiful month. So it's sad if your Ramadan isn't doing good, you know? I mean, that's the thing. That's the beauty of Ramadan. Even when you're not doing your best, even if you are at your worst, in fact, sometimes, there's still a beauty in Ramadan, you know? It's not about a certain kind of... And it's like different from people to people, you know? I mean, that's 2019 Ramadan. We were doing so bad.
Yeah.
But...
that's the thing that makes it so good, because like in
Juliet's
volume. Like, you know, book 1, book 2, book 3. I guess that makes sense. So the thing about that thing is that
what thing? Ramadan,
it being different for everyone. Yeah. That's what makes it so special. That's what I'm looking for. Makes it so special for you.
Yeah.
So you're feeling it this way, and that's unique to yourself.
Yeah.
And you won't be feeling it anymore.
You may not.
Well, you won't be feeling exactly that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, it will always be different. Yeah. So, that's what makes me always, excited.
And that is the thing where I try to remind myself to be present in Ramadan. You know, to appreciate the month as it is, and like how it's going on as it is. You know, like to not try to compare this Ramadan and that Ramadan. To not try to, to not be too. That's the frustrating part about this year in some ways. My exam is like next month.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to stop myself from thinking about that too much, because when I'm stressing out about that, I wanted to reference to a Jensi Mixol episode, but then it hasn't come out yet. It's a Jensi Mixol episode that will come out soon.
Episode 16.
Yeah, stay tuned. But anyway, like we mentioned
actually, I'm looking at the screen of the camera.
Like we mentioned in that episode, that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
It hasn't come out yet. It hasn't come out yet. What's the point? I'm sorry.
The exam,
yeah. When you are like thinking about it from the future perspective, like you have like expectations and you get frustrated and you're starting to stress about something that hasn't happened yet, from the idea, like I'm not just stressing about like that exam that's going to happen. I'm stressed out about the result of the exam, which is even more future, even more into the future. Grammatically it doesn't make sense, okay, even more into the future. So I'm trying to remind myself to be here right now, be present, to appreciate Ramadan, because you don't get it every day. It's only once a month. I mean, right now it's already, once a year. Right now it's already like half of Ramadan, half of it is gone. So if I'm spending my time being stressed out about, that, it's like unfortunate. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
It's already 10:17. We've been talking so long.
I was like, we went through this too fast. We're still early, like still.
No, like this is exactly Ramadan.
Yeah.
This is Ramadan again. This is the show. But honestly, Ramadan's going by so fast. But you should be grateful that at least you have experienced Ramadan so far. If you feel like you haven't done enough, then just, stop being frustrated about how you haven't done enough. But start doing now, like live in the now.
And be in the first place before, like while doing that, be grateful that at least you've done.
Yeah, what you have done. Which you have done. You have at least fasted. I mean, yeah. Because you except if you were sick and but chances are.
Chances are, And
at least you're going through Ramadan.
Yeah, even if you're sick, you're still going through Ramadan.
Yeah, going through Ramadan is really a blessing, to be honest. Even if you're sick. Ask Ahmed. Ahmed once went through Ramadan. Was it the whole month or was it just a few days? Half a month. Half a month he couldn't fast. For half a month he couldn't fast, I
did fast like for the first day, but then, then by that night I was like, I basically collapsed.
Yeah,
and
like not literally half, not like, so for half a month you couldn't fast, but you got to go through Ramadan. Then you felt angry. What did you do when you go through that? Were you just upset?
I think I was like upset the first day, and then after that I was just already accepting it somewhat, like, because the thing is that at least I was able to go to the mosque still, like I had iftar at the mosque. Even though I still had iftar, but it's not exactly breaking my fast. So it was there was still fasting. That all of that element of Ramadan that I could still go through.
And you can still like, I mean, some people who are less fortunate, they can't go out, to the mosque and such. But at least they could go through the Ramadan for them within themselves. Sometimes when you're talking from experience, sometimes when you're sick and you can't really move around, it is better for you to it is a better condition for you to sort of like reflect on yourself and take some time for your own self. And it's like some of the biggest changes I've done in my life I did after I was very sick. Like, you remember that one time I dislocated my ankle?
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't walk for like 2 days or something like that. That was like one of the I sat down and read like 3 books or something because there's nothing else to do. But then throughout that moment also while reading those books, I really reflected on my life and what I'm doing. Because in the end, like everything that you already have is a blessing, and it's also a responsibility. You're responsible for all these actions that you're doing, And so I keep on losing my train of thought. Responsibility. Yes, okay. So as you sit down and you think about all the things that you're doing, you realize how much you have done and how much you haven't done. And so what are you going to do in the future with that responsibility that you're carrying, But then sometimes we are very, very focused on the things that we haven't done, like the frustration, the things that we haven't been doing, that we forget about the things that we have done. This is like talking, okay, just now we were talking about like tribulations in the sense of like, things that you are facing through. This is talking about when you are upset with yourself and where you are in your life. Usually like for old people, like not like old people, but then like older people midlife crisis. Nowadays they have this, I can't remember what's the term, for like young adults facing that crisis. University age, young life crisis. Yeah, something like that. I can't remember exactly what's it called.
I'm not sure at all. I'm just making it because I'm in the middle.
So, like usually those crises happen because you start to question like, what is your purpose of life? What have you been doing throughout your life? And sometimes you feel, I think there's also another one called a birthday depression. Yeah, where you you sound so amused, like interested, fascinated. Where you because like you you go through another year, you start to become very depressed about the years that
specifically that just went by when you
and like how many years you have been living and what you've been doing throughout your life, so so but then in it's good, it's very good, I believe it's super good for you to remind yourself, realize how much you haven't done, and have that as a motivation to do more. However, you should still like, because I'm just discovering this last year, I think like late last year. In thinking about the things that you haven't done, you should also realize how much you have actually done, because sometimes I'm just like very frustrated about the things I haven't done, I haven't achieved, and etc. And then like late last year, there were people who we were talking with, and they were talking about certain things, and then I'm like realizing like, hold a second, we were a part of these things. We were a part of such a big change. We actually like, perhaps we didn't, like we could have done more, but we have done something. We have done a little tiny bit, which changed so much. We have done something. And then when you are reminded of that, you should not have that as like a comfort, like, okay, I've done my part, but that help you should use that to help you remind yourself of the blessings that you have had, because the fact that you've done something positive is also a blessing.
In general, like whenever you're looking at something, like either the tribulations that you're facing or the things that you haven't done and such, or your actions, you should look at it from you should have both perspective, because it's important for you to see both perspectives and not just be blind by one.
What perspectives?
Like the good thing that you've done and the bad thing you've done.
Yes.
So have both.
Yeah.
But always remember to have the positive one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we're facing something negative, we will automatically just have the negative one.
Yeah. I guess that's the my
it's also
idea.
Like when you're having a good time, you kind of like forget the bad things that you're going through, which proves how you can, go through something bad while not being overwhelmed by that bad thing.
I guess that's the idea that I just had now about like having that like safe zone sort of like when you're like facing a very hard time, etc. Have like list down activities that can calm you down, places that can calm you down. Try to remind yourself to go to resort to these things, and then have like a journal or something where you write down like lines or quotes or things that would inspire sabr in you. Yeah.
Also depends on the people, how they see things. Some people might prefer other methods. But like that's an idea.
Yeah. Like for some people, perhaps if they watch videos of positive moments when they're having a negative moment, it's like super depressing for them. So don't. Like see what fits for you. And if this whole concept doesn't fit for you, then sure, whatever.
Apply it however it's best for you.
Just the concept is that to in building sabah, one of the elements at school is if you are grateful for what you have, shukr, and then they come in hand, and then
that's basically what we're almost reaching the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, which we've never done before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Usually we reach 1 hour mark, including like the intro, but like not until like when we actually start.
The waiting room.
Waiting room intro.
Yeah. So this is a very fruitful discussion. I hope that it is as fruitful for you, and I hope that you got like points or bits or inspirations, and it's cool to hear your ideas too. Yeah. I really appreciate doing Ramadan Reflection. It's such a cool.
In fact, it feels like I want to do this every week, even after this.
Yeah, but then it won't be Ramadan
exactly.
Reflections.
So like
it
it's
will be Rajab Reflection, Sha'ban Reflection.
Make a whole series of monthly reflections. Yes,
no.
every month.
We do it yearly. Then it will be part of the special parts of Ramadan.
It makes the month feels more. Feel specialer.
Yeah. Except if like during Ramadan like you're away, then we have to do it like in one of those virtual concepts or something.
More reasons to use OBS fancily. I always want to kind of customize the
I thought like more reasons to be grateful of your life. Like now you have modern technology which enables you to communicate far distances and etc.
But I could also be grateful that that's a chance for me to enjoy using
OBS fancily. Yeah. Okay, sure. So thank you so much. I would like to
close it.
Hold a second. There's a line that I just remembered. When you were remember when you were sick once? We mentioned this in some episodes of Gen Z Meets World that I can't remember anymore. Or maybe it's the one that's coming out. No, it wasn't. Yeah. Which episode was that?
I can be sure it wasn't because
you're not holding your microphone.
It wasn't. I can be sure it wasn't because when we were recording the upcoming episode, I was thinking about that. And
okay, so whenever we
might be
that,
what's the previous episode? Episode 15. I can't remember.
Fright.
Stage fright.
I can't be stage fright.
Can't be stage fright.
It must be before stage fright, but I can't remember. Never mind. It's okay. I can't remember. So in that when you were sick once upon a time, I think it was also like the whole avalanche of it was during 2018, 2019, 2020 era. Yeah. So with all of those many events that were happening, I was feeling very, very scared and exhausted, defeated. And I remember I found this ayah because I was reading the Manzil, and there was this one ayah from Surah Az-Zumar. If I am not mistaken, it is the 38th ayah, which goes something like Kul hasbi Allah alayhi yatawakkalu. something like that. Mutawakkilun. Alayhi wa yatawakkalul mutawakkilun.
I
think that would make sense Arabically.
Yeah, Arabically,
I'm trying to make it make sense Arabically. I can just look for it. Which means basically say that Allah is sufficient for me.
Sufficient for you, yeah.
And hold a second, let me see if I can find it. Can you hold my microphone? Oh, you're holding it for me. Cool.
I thought that's what you wanted.
No. I thought you're just going to hold it while I look. I'm sorry. Let me because I really like that line. It's one of those lines that really makes me feel better when I'm not feeling so good. Like, gives me strength. That's the word. It's a word. It's a verse that gives me strength. Hold a second. Let me look for it. I think it's the 38th. Okay. Kul hasbi Allah alayhi yatawakkalul mutawakkilun. Yeah. The meaning is sufficient. Say sufficient is Allah for me. In Him trust those who put their trust. Yeah. And
that's the other thing. Tawakkal.
Yeah.
It's a very important element in like patience.
Yeah. I mean, tawakkal is an important element in. I think
we
patience.
did mention,
you need patience to.
We did mention.
We did mention
trust. Yeah, but then specifically the.
I did think of this when in the waiting room video just now, that for the starting soon video we put up the fears and phobia. I didn't think of this coincidentally. It just fit in. After we recorded the fears and phobia episode, I looked up this long piece on Facebook where I realized that amongst the concept in fear, actually, like the whole idea of taqwa is to fear only Allah, and in that it is like to understand that no harm can come to you without
the
it being decreed by Allah.
Yeah.
And and Allah will only test you with what you can be tested. And thus, that is like the concept of like fear in Allah, Yeah. And another ayah that's like cool to be reminded of. I'm so sorry we're dragging this, but then another ayah that's cool to be reminded of is Surah Al-Inshirah. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا.
I was going to I cannot.
Which, if according to, it's a bit weird to name drop someone.
What?
I want to say according to this person, to you, but then it's weird to name drop a person on a live, a random person.
Oh, right.
But according to this person that we learned from,
yeah,
it's the only like phrase that's repeated.
Describe the person?
It's okay. It's
all
like
right.
The only phrase that's repeated twice, one after another. And that like kind of very shows the strength of that. Which means verily, I'm sorry, let me look for it. I'm not going to randomly come up with a translation. Yeah. That's not right. Yeah. So verily with every difficulty there is relief. Verily with every difficulty there is relief. Yeah. This is a good surah in general to
think of in this situation.
Yeah, the translation. I mean, I'm sure you know the surah Al-Inshirah. The translation is, "Have we not expanded?" There's a typo. I think it's okay. I'll just read. "Have we not expanded thee thy breast and removed from thee thy burden, the which did." I sometimes in reading these, I'm like, would you understand this English? Should I read the other version? But then basically, you should understand, and raised high the esteem in which thou art held. So verily, with every difficulty there is relief. Verily, with every difficulty there is relief. Therefore, when thou art free from thine immediate task, still labor hard, and to thy Lord turn all thy attention. Like.
It's like a motivational speech.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
What?
I get. Yeah. So it talks about how, like, it shows. in this surah, it shows like the just the translation, but the
Asbab Nuzul.
The
reason of
I remember. That's it. I am trying to recollect it. Remember, we learned it from. I'll just say it. Usra Rauf.
Hadith class. That's why I was asking you. Like, you could just say our hadith.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I just can't remember exactly what was it like. So I do not want to retell something.
Maybe she can tell.
Yeah.
We'll wait for the delay until and wait for her to type.
If you remember, you can type it out, because I can't remember at the moment, and I do not want to
give a deviant teaching.
Yeah. But yeah, while waiting for that, I mean, the beginning of it talks about shukur,
Yeah.
like reminding you of all the and then it reminds you that with every difficulty you receive, so now the hardship they're facing, there will be relief, and thus, like, after the difficulty, now still delay. Maybe she's typing.
Because there will be the 10 seconds delay first, and then there's the typing delay.
We'll wait. Yeah, because I mean, I should have, like, instead of just wanting to say this, like, I actually looked for my notes from that class and then talk about that. But then, sometimes you do not remember things. But yeah, so Aimani can come up with it.
Well, I think we can continue talking first, because it might take.
Okay, how was your Ramadan?
Oh, it was nice. Actually, like, I do.
We're not sponsored, but like Jejak Rasul is one of my favorite parts of Ramadan. That documentary, Jejak Rasul? It's my favorite one of my favorite Ramadan. It's nostalgic, and it's also a very, very super cool documentary series.
Yes.
And this year and last year, they do this
a series.
What's it called? You remember? Ulama Waris Rasul, something like that. And so they have like ulama Nusantara, like them, and also like what they've done and how they fought for Islam in our country, and not just like ulama in the sense of like just the ulama, like usually ulama, but also the umara who are also religious. Now let's see. Oh, now you're making me nervous, but it was during a time when our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was feeling low after being rejected during his da'wah in Mecca.
And more than that, I'm not finishing. I feel like it was like that, but I'm like, not.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I don't want to give deviant teaching, but yes, and the whole story, like, if you learn it, and then, or if you remember it, then, like, you can really understand, like, the whole story is like very beautiful. A lot of these, that's the thing, that's the beauty. Like, just learn, because sometimes, when you just translate literally things, sometimes you may not get the full context, or sometimes you just misunderstand the whole thing. But on top of that, if you know, like, when you learn from Ahli Tafsir, who, like, really understand the context and really understand the meaning, and really, they can tell you the deeper story behind it, which makes it so much more beautiful. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Oh wait, the random Jejak Rasul bomb was because it airs on weekends. I would recommend the show. It's a very good show. Yeah, because it teaches a lot.
Yeah.
Hold a second. Okay. So sorry. That was.
That's the wrong selection.
Oops.
It's okay. I think it works because we don't need the screen anymore.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. And I think Imani said something which I can't read now. It's too small.
It's the same one.
No, before that.
Oh, no, it's the same.
Before that.
Referring to Surah Al-Inshirah.
No, never mind.
Not
I'll
just
read. And thank you for including us in your reflections. Thank you for participating in our reflections. Like, it's not our reflection. You said it was in your reflections. It's not our reflection.
It's not you. It's not our. Yeah,
it's not kami punya reflection. It's our reflection. Like, all of us. Yeah,
it's not exclusive our reflection. It's inclusive our reflection.
Yes. That's why we air it live, so that we can all have the reflection together. That's the concept. Like, that's why.
In fact, it would be cool if we could be here together. But that will make.
But then I mean, yeah.
That's the best that we can.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming together and
reflecting with us.
Yeah. Yes. Like, and like having your feedback and everything. So yeah. Thank you so much. We will be airing Ramadan Reflection again next week. Now, there is one note that we would like to mention for next week. We're not we want to do something. There's something that we want to do, something special that we want to do for the next week's episode. But we're not exactly sure on the format. We might make an extended live where it's like a long live, so we have the part 1 where we have the Ramadan reflection, and then we have the part 2 where we have some special something. Or we might also just do them together simultaneously, though I would prefer not. I would prefer to have this reflection, like this. Or we might also make another option. We have another option, which is to break them into separate lives. So we have one live session in the morning and one live session in the evening. We're not exactly sure which format we'll be doing, but
we'll
then
inform once we inform the title and
on our social media. But bear in mind that it's going to be a special one. Yeah. It's going to be the last 10 days. Like, then it'll be the last 10 days.
It will be within the last 10 days already. It's like the 8th. It's 8 more days, something like that.
Oh my God, it's going so fast. But I appreciate it while you have it. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, everyone, for joining and tuning in and having this discussion with us. We are very, very thankful and grateful to be able to do this. Yeah, so thank you so much. We'll see you guys again next week. Same time, same day. Like we will definitely start 9:30. Yeah, it's just how the format is.
And like go on after that.
Okay, sorry for dragging this. We're dragging this too long. Anyway, Assalamualaikum. I want to see Ramadan Mubarak again.
Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum.
Yeah.